You know that feeling when you're doing everything you're supposed to do, working hard, paying your bills, maybe even putting a little away each month, and you still feel like you're getting nowhere? Like the finish line keeps moving? This video is exactly about that. How to actually become a millionaire. Not with a side hustle that goes viral, not with crypto, not with some guru's $997 course. The boring way. The way that actually works. And here's the question you're probably asking right now. If it's so simple, why isn't everyone doing it? Stick around, because the answer is going to mess with your head a little. Step 1. Understand what's actually happening with your money right now. Let's start with where most people are, because it's worse than you think. The average American household brings in about $104,000 a year before taxes and spends $78,500 of it. That sounds okay until you look at what's left. The U.S. personal savings rate is sitting at roughly 3.6%. 3.6%. In the 1970s, it was closer to 10%. So somewhere along the way, as incomes went up, spending went up faster. That's lifestyle inflation, and it's the #1 wealth killer nobody talks about. Here's what lifestyle inflation actually looks like in real numbers. The average new car payment in 2025 is $748 a month. The average used car payment is $532. That's a $216 difference. Sounds manageable, right? Think about it this way. Invest that $216 every month at 8% for 30 years, and that gap is worth roughly $322,000. You didn't give up a car. You gave up $322,000 for leather seats and that new car smell. This is what nobody talks about. Every dollar you spend isn't just a dollar. It's every future dollar that dollar would have become. And it gets messier. The average American spends $3,933 a year eating out. That's about $328 a month on restaurant food. David Bach, who wrote The Automatic Millionaire, called this the latte factor. The idea that your daily spending habits have a compounding cost most people never calculate. A $10 a day lunch habit at 10% returns over 35 years? That's over $1 million. You didn't buy lunch. You bought $1 million future and traded it for a sandwich. I'm not saying never eat out. Here's the thing. The point isn't to be miserable. The point is to see your money clearly, because most people have no idea where it's actually going. Step 2. Stop trying to beat the market. Here's where it gets interesting. Every year, the financial industry sells you the same story, that paying for professional money management gets you better results. It doesn't. The SPIVA scorecard, the gold standard report on active versus passive investing, found that over 20 years, 92% of actively managed large-cap funds underperformed the S&P 500. Not some of them, 92%. And here's the part that's genuinely messed up. Those are only the funds that survived. Over a 20-year period, 67% of actively managed funds were quietly shut down or merged when their performance got too embarrassing to talk about. The failures disappear from the record. So the 92% who underperform? That's probably generous. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor who ever lived, proved this himself. In 2007, he made a $1 million bet that a simple, boring Vanguard S&P 500 index fund would beat 5 hand-picked hedge funds over 10 years. He won. The index fund returned 125.8% over the decade. The hedge funds averaged 22% combined. And those hedge funds were charging 2% of assets plus 20% of profits every single year. Let me show you exactly how this works. Say you're investing in an actively managed fund with a 1% annual expense ratio versus a Vanguard index fund at 0.03%. On a $500,000 portfolio earning 7% annually over 30 years, the difference in fees costs you roughly $900,000, not $5,000, not $50,000, $900,000, gone silently to fees. And the manager statistically made your returns worse while charging you for it. The math is brutal. A 1% annual fee sounds like nothing, but it doesn't just take 1% of your money. It takes 1% of everything that money would have compounded into, year after year after year. That's not financial advice. That's arithmetic. The boring move? A low-cost S&P 500 index fund, a total market fund, a Roth IRA maxed at $7,000 a year, and your employer's 401k maxed at $23,500. Set it, automate it, leave it alone. Step 3. Let time do the heavy lifting. Now, here's the part that sounds impossible until you actually run the numbers. If you invest $500 a month starting at age 25, at an 8% average annual return, you'll have roughly $1.75 million by age 65. Here's what blows people's minds. You contributed about $240,000 of your own money. The other $1.5 million came from compound interest. You didn't earn that. Your money earned that. Compounding did 86% of the work. I know what you're thinking. That's 40 years. That's forever. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Those 40 years are happening whether you invest or not. The question is just whether compound interest is working for you or against you in them. Let me paint you a picture of two people. Both earn the same income. Person A starts at 25, invests $500 a month, and never touches it. Person B waits until 35 to start and invests $1,000 a month, twice as much, to try to catch up. At 65, Person A has around $1.75 million. Person B has around $1.4 million. Person B invested more money every single month for 30 years and still lost. That's the cost of waiting. 10 years of delay doesn't set you back 10 years. It costs you over $300,000. This is what nobody talks about. You can't outwork a late start, but you also can't mess up an early one. Step 4. Your brain is the problem. Let me be real with you for a second. You already know you should be saving and investing, so why aren't you doing it? Or why aren't you doing it consistently? There's a concept in behavioral economics called temporal discounting. It's just a fancy way of saying your brain values stuff you can have right now way more than stuff you can have later. The $80 dinner tonight feels very real. The $80 that would have turned into $4,000 over 30 years feels abstract. Your brain isn't broken. It's just running old software built for a world where saving for the future was less important than surviving this winter. Richard Thaler, a Nobel Prize-winning economist, ran a study on this called the Save More Tomorrow program. Instead of asking people to save more money today, which feels like a loss, he asked them to commit to saving a portion of their next raise. Future money doesn't trigger the same resistance. The result? Savings rates jumped from 3.5% to 13.6% over 40 months, nearly a four-fold increase. The behavior didn't change because people became more disciplined. It changed because the system was designed to work with the brain instead of against it. The practical application is simple. Automate everything. Set up automatic contributions to your 401k. Set up automatic transfers to your Roth IRA on payday. The moment the money is out of your checking account before you can see it, you stop feeling like you're losing it. What you don't see, you don't spend. Here's where most people completely mess this up. They treat investing like a decision to make every month. It's not. It should be a decision you make once, then forget. Fidelity's own internal research found that their best-performing accounts belonged to people who either forgot they had them or died. Seriously, the best investors are the ones who do nothing. So there you have it, the boring way to $1 million. Subscribe for more videos like this.